Okay, I got interrupted again. So, um, there's one story too that I felt like I wanted to tell, and it's just a story. I mean, it's gonna have whatever meaning it has to whoever hears it. And that's one thing too that I really have noticed. Like, nobody really even knows what they look like themselves, because we all see what we want to see. We don't all see the same thing. We don't all look at one person and see the same thing. And there is a thing about, that uh, the scientific formula of like, oh, if every feature lines up a certain way, then that means that's perfection, and that's why we think certain people are more beautiful than other people. But I think there's also a lot of people who their eyes are drawn towards interesting. So that is things to not be all in alignment, not to be perfect, that we find beauty also in that. I think sometimes when we see something unusual, like a person's face or something, it's not that we're staring because we're being rude. Sometimes I think we're just drawn to the more unusual patterns. And so our eyes become fixated it's more of a discovering the patterns or something. So I think that sometimes I used to stare horribly when I was younger. I would have no idea I was even staring. I would start looking at something, and then I would just be staring, thinking about things. And I think that, a lot of people don't have any awareness, but then somebody who's being stared at becomes super self-conscious, and you start feeling like something's wrong with you. And it's just, it's kind of funny, like, why would that be what we would think, you know? Why wouldn't we think, like, that it's interesting that it's put them into some kind of thought or something? I don't know. But anyways, we're all just insecure. We all think that, the same thing's got to be beautiful. I mean, we've got all these people who are completely changing their whole face to look like one person who they think is beautiful, and then they're willing to change their whole face to try and look like that one person. It's like, not everybody thinks that person's beautiful. I mean, you may think that person's beautiful, but a lot of people are going to look at you and think your face is beautiful. And that's what makes it so interesting, and for all the different faces. Just like I've said before, when you have a collection, you don't go out and try and collect a million of all the same thing. You want all the different varieties of this thing. You want to see it in all different colors and all different sizes, shapes, patterns, everything. So I think the more that even a garden, I used to tell my daughters this all the time when they were younger. And, when the young teenage girls, and they always feel like, oh, somebody else is prettier and all that stuff. And I would always say, yeah, but when you go into a garden, how could you pick out the prettiest flower? It's impossible. You can't pick out the prettiest flower. And even if we tried, even if we all went out and tried to pick the prettiest one, we're all going to pick different ones. So we have to just love ourselves and appreciate ourselves, and hold ourselves to esteem. And yeah, it's sad for everybody to be changing. I've been caught up in it, the insecurity of changing yourself. And it's definitely a regret, is the feeling of like, why did I feel like I wasn't good enough the way I was? Like, what was that all about? And people walking by, walking their dogs. Now Stella's out there all alone. She doesn't have her Winston out there. God, that was emotional. I was so emotional yesterday. Oh my gosh. I was bawling. It was crazy too, that dog. That dog drove me crazy for 11 years. That guy would not listen. He was like Tigger on steroids, just bouncing all over the place, stealing food off people's plates. Just, boy, that dog was something. And was constantly, Winston, stop it. He just could never, You can tell him something 500 times. It's never, and then you can tell another dog something one time and they're just like, okay. Well, he just wasn't the sharpest, but he just was all about love, 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 love. He could drive you crazy, but he was just a loving guy. And it was just super emotional to watch. It was super peaceful when they give him the medicine, because he was being really strained with the pain. He was so uncomfortable. He couldn't get comfortable. He just kept shifting, and it's just it's sad to watch somebody struggle. And so when they gave him the first shot, and he just really relaxed, it was just like, oh yeah, I bet that just feels so good, just to relax, to be out of pain for a little while. Can't talk about it because I'm just going to start bawling again. Does clear up your eyes for a second when it does that. But there's another story about another little guy that I want to talk about, and it's another dog. And I just feel like there's lessons in every story. There's lessons in every situation. So we take from it what we will. We take from it what we pick up on. And, so it doesn't have to make sense to anybody. But, so this story is about Patrick. And my daughter, when she was having some problems, and it was right after I had split up and stuff, and so she moved in with her kids, and I've talked about that before, and they had a little dog named Patrick, and he was he looked kind of like that Taco Bell kind of dog, but he was bigger than that. I don't remember what the mix was, but he was really cute. And anyways, when we moved in, she had little kids, and when they moved in, Patrick was just naughty. He would just be naughty all the time. Go to the bathroom on the floor. You could have the door open. I would always leave the door open, because if I have a doggy door, it's got to be the size of a half door anyways. So when it's nice weather, I don't hear, because I live in the forest and there's so many spiders. But before, when I just lived in a neighborhood, I would just have the back door open, and they could just go in and out when they wanted to, as long as the weather was decent. And he would still choose to just go to the bathroom on the floor. He was just such a so he was super frustrating. And then if you tried to grab him or something, to take him and put him outside, like, no, Patrick, you can't potty and then put him outside. Like, are you not getting this? Like, what is going on, dude? And so you try, and then he would back himself into a corner, and then he would start snarling at you and growling, like, come near me, I'll bite your hand off. And I was like, fuck, this guy is just like, I don't know, he's so crazy. And then when we had moved out of the one house and we moved into a different one, and while we were in that one, everybody would be gone all the time. They would always be gone to school. And he started coming, and him and Stella became best of friends. And he would come, and like, she would lay next to me, and he would come and sit and kind of curl up. He was real tiny, and she's huge. And he would go and curl up in her things, and he would sit at attention like he's guarding her, This tiny little dog was guarding this giant dog. It was so cute. He was always so protective of her, and it was just adorable. They had the cutest relationship. They really thought they were a little couple, and they'd go around together. Oh my gosh, they were cute. But we were going to be going on a trip. That summer we were going to Portugal and Spain, and so we had to have the dogs go and stay. And my mom had a friend who said that she could potty train him. If I just brought him over there, she would work on it while we were gone, and get him potty trained. So I was like, okay, perfect, let's do that. And I'll pay whatever, who cares, just make my life so much better, because I was the one spending the most time with them, right? And so it was cleaning up after, I don't know, it's just, so anyways, I was willing to pay to get him trained. So he went to go over there, and we went on our trip, and then we came back, and when I went to go pick him up, she said that she never had to train him. He never needed to be trained. She said that he followed hers out and would just go out the doggy door each time with hers and never went to the bathroom in their house or anything. I was like, weird. So he has an attitude towards us. And her house was all adults, and he was just so happy. She said he was so happy. He was going and sitting with them, and he never got mad at any of them, and I started thinking, well, his personality he doesn't like kids, obviously. And Jordan's youngest daughter was the age of those little girls who want to, put them in little outfits and put them in their doll bed and make them lay there and stuff. So he was a toy to her, and he wasn't having it. He bit her several times. He was always mad at her. And so I started being like, oh, so this guy, he has his own idea of how he's not happy with us. He's not happy here. And he's showing us by going to the bathroom everywhere and then coming in snapping at us and stuff that he isn't happy. So I brought him back, and he went right back into the same behaviors. Right back into going potty all over the house, snapping at everybody, growling and stuff. And I was like, okay, we've got to, well, at the same time, the woman who had trained him, they had fallen in love with him. He would go in and he would go sleep with them and everything. And these were people who have, I guess it's kind of like a shelter. They have a whole bunch of dogs. When somebody gives up their dog, some go to the Humane Society and some go to foster people and stuff. So hers is a farm, and she has a whole bunch of dogs. And Patrick just bonded right to the people and just started, coming in, hanging out with them, going up and wanting to sleep with them, and they just really fell in love with them. And they were like, if they don't want him, we would love him. We would love to keep him, especially the woman's husband. She said he doesn't normally bond with dogs, and he's fallen in love with Patrick. And then when Patrick came back and Patrick was miserable, I just kept thinking about, like, what does Patrick want? It seems like Patrick is telling us he's not happy in this living situation and he wants something different. And so I talked them into letting Patrick go there, and everybody was super upset with me and mad at me. And it reminds me of when in 2016 when I said Trump's going to be elected, and I was a Bernie supporter. I wasn't a Trump supporter, but I was going on and reading conversations, and you start picking up on the energy, and you start having an understanding of what's going on. And I started telling people Trump's going to win. Oh my God, people were getting so mad at me, as if I was saying, oh, I just want him to win so bad and stuff. And, I was still following what the misleading information, when they were saying, like, he says he can stand in the middle of the road and shoot people and they'll still vote for him. All this stuff, I was like, this is nuts. I don't understand it, but, if he's going to be voted in, then he's going to be voted in. Obviously, things have got to get shook up. Something's going on a different level than people understand. And so people were so mad, but that's how I felt too about the Patrick thing. It was like I'm just picking up on energy. I'm picking up on something that other people don't seem to have the awareness of, but I can see it so clearly. And there's so much of the stuff that's going on right now. Like, you can talk to somebody about it and they have no idea what you're talking about. None whatsoever. I tried saying something. There's a guy on next door in our discussion group, and he's on the other side of the aisle, politically opposite of what I'm seeing. And he is so sure about what he believes. It doesn't matter how many times you give him other information and say, yeah, but this You're missing this. What about this? You're not seeing this. Still can't see it. You can put it right before them. And anything that they're getting is true, accurate information as far as they're concerned. Anything else that disputes that is inaccurate, it's fake, it's false, it's it's really weird. So, I keep trying to tell him, like, this has nothing to do with what you think. This isn't about the elections, isn't about any of this stuff. This is the evolution of humans. This is what are you noticing? What is pulling what connections do you have? What are you emotionally attached to? This is what we're letting go of. We're transforming, we're becoming different. And you can't, like if you could talk to somebody who understands, you can have a really deep conversation and it's really enjoyable. When you start trying to tell somebody who has no idea what you're talking about, they're just like, he was just like, huh? And then another person went in and explained to him what I was saying and was explaining completely different from what I was saying. I was just like, okay, give up, stop, they're going to see it when they can see it. You cannot force anyone to see it. It doesn't matter. They have to see it for themselves. And, it's being shown every day. And when they see it, they'll see it. And, there's nothing you can do to speed it up for anybody. And, but once you see it, and you have this awareness shift and you go through the healing and stuff like that, you're in such a much better place, just mentally, just everything. I don't even know how to explain it. It's weird. It does. I know I've said it before. It almost feels like you're living in a dream all the time. It's just different. And, so there is a definite reality switch, but being on the same planet, in the same space, living completely different existences of reality. It's really crazy. Another thing about that makes me think about the energy too with Winston. As I was thinking about, it's weird because he was sickly for, I swear, his whole life. He had skin conditions, he had allergies, and trying to figure out what a dog's allergic to is, they just switch things, they give him medicine, and then golden retrievers also have, I can't remember what it's called, but they'll chew on themselves. Even if there's nothing there, they'll create something. They'll just chew, 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 chew. So with the skin condition, chew, 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 chew all the time. And he would give himself infections, and he'd have to go on medicine and get shots, and then he was always so big and fat and couldn't breathe. God, he was a funny guy, but he was a lot of energy. Like it would take me a million times to get him to do something. He was big and heavy, and he'd rip your arm out of the socket. He was just, oh my gosh. He would take him out for a walk. He would go out the door and he would start, I'm not even kidding, it would be like if you had Tigger on a leash. He just started spinning and jumping and like so out of control. Even if you put one of those pinch collars on that's supposed to be a training collar, that it's not supposed to hurt him, it's supposed to just give him some kind of a feeling or something that makes them pay attention. And it would be the same thing. He was in his own world, but he took a lot of my energy and mental and emotional energy. And sometimes him and I had a very contentious relationship. Not on his part. He loved everybody, but he drove me crazy sometimes. And then when he got sick, it was a lot of physical energy. Like his bedding and stuff would have to be washed constantly. I had 2 other dog beds that had to just completely be thrown away. This stuff that was leaking out of him was toxic. You couldn't wash it out. The smell, oh my gosh, horrible. Yeah, to be able to take a deep breath and not have that go into your chest and lungs. Oh, it's horrible. It would make you nauseous. It was just horrible. But that took a lot of physical energy, taking care of him. And then, his energy imprint he had the same spot that he had laid in for months, as he was deteriorating in his illness and laying there, creating like this energy, like you can look over and still see him there, this energy imprint. And now, when he left, you don't even realize how much energetically, that there is. When it goes, then that is like, it's such a weird feeling when you have this sensitivity to the awareness, or to this energy leaving. And it is, I don't even know, it's not like it's good or bad or sad, it's kind of an emptiness that you just feel. And but it was just so much crying yesterday, just saying goodbye to him. He's been with me him and I have been through a lot. We've been through a lot of things. And letting go of that part, that ended my time with him. And now it's this new time, and I felt that shift too, because it was so much time. Like when he would be sick, I would be like, I look so forward to the time I'm going to have with Stella. It was even before Winston got sick, because he hates traveling. I was going to leave him with my mom and take Stella to travel around and do some road trips. I was going to do it last spring, but I was going to do it this spring, and then that didn't happen, and he died. But I'm still going to. It didn't happen the way I thought it was going to happen, because I thought he was going to stay with my mom because he hates traveling, but I was going to still take her. But now it's going to, and then all of a sudden it just felt like, oh my gosh, this is just me and Stella here now. It's just me and her. And it was weird. I don't know. There's just a lot of awareness that I keep having, and epiphanies and insights, and that's why I keep sharing them. And the whole time I'm talking, I'm getting like flooded with more things, but I can't, I would have to be able to say several conversations at once, and I'm not capable of being able to do that. So I miss out on some of the things that are coming in at once that I wanted to say, but I just can't pick them all up at once and say them all. So I'm sure I'll probably say some more in just a minute.